Well, hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the sequence of the exams. Now, this will be for your general building and residential contractors. All right. My name is Jack Sheffield. I call myself Jack the Exam Guy, and my website is jacktheexamguy.com if you want to get a hold of me. Now, this presentation is for candidates that need to take all three exams: the business and finance, the contract administration, and the project management. The reason I specifically say that is because for some people, you don't have to take all three exams. For example, if you already have another contractor's license in a different category, then you possibly would not have to take the business and finance exam. Or maybe you have a degree in civil engineering or contract management, and you got a particular, like over a 3.0, then you may not have to take the trade exams, which is the contract management and the project management. Sometimes the contract management and the contract administration and the project management are referred to as the trade exams, and the business and finance is, of course, the business and finance again. All contractors have to take the business and finance exam, and so there you go. So the sequence of the exams. This particular presentation is about the sequence of the exams. There's a whole lot more information that I can impart to you, and that's in my course. I've got some introductory videos, and I want you to make sure you watch all those. They talk about how many questions are on the exam and some strategies as well. But we're simply talking about which exam to take first, second, and third for general building and residential contractors. Okay, so you definitely want to take the business and finance exam first. There's a couple of different reasons. One is that it is less intimidating because there's only three manuals. You might look at that stack of manuals that you see and you might be overwhelmed. Wow, look at all these manuals. There's a dozen or 15 of them. How am I going to ever get through all these? Well, let's just take it one step at a time. If we just do the business and finance first, we only really have three manuals that we have to concentrate on. We've got the contractor's manual, okay, which is going to tell us all the rules in Florida. Okay, there's nothing really super about job site construction except for one small section, in chapter 7. But most of this stuff is about administering a contract and what have you. It's all the business rules, all right? And the accounting, that's self-explanatory. It's all the accounting rules. And then when you have what you call the AIA documents, and these are relatively small compared to the other two books. And once again, I'm not going to go into a big detail about what those are. That's going to happen at another time. But the bottom line is there's only three manuals and it's kind of bite-sized. We're taking a little bit, and we're going to have some success on the business and finance, and that's going to give us a real boost. You can actually even only buy the business and finance books. If you're in kind of a crunch, you don't want to spend, $3,000 all at one time, buy the books, buy the courses, sign up for the exams. You can just take the business and finance. You can just buy the business and finance books. It's about $350, and buy the business and finance course, which is about $300. So there you go. I recommend taking the business and finance exam first. Now, for some people, it is a harder exam because of the fact that maybe you work in the field a lot and you're really good about, figuring out all the things that need to happen on the job. Well, this is really the stuff that's going to be happening in the back office, all of your accounting stuff and all of your rules and so on and so forth, and the administrative stuff. So, but still, I want you to take this exam first. And my business and finance exam course will prepare you for that exam. I take you through all the different math that you need to know, take you through these manuals page by page, practice exams, the whole 9 yards. So let's do that first. Now we're going to go on to the contract administration. The contract administration is the second exam that I want you to take. And there's a reason for that. First of all, there's going to be heavy emphasis on the contractor's manual and the AIA documents. As much as half of the contract administration exam is going to come out of the stuff that you learned in the business and finance, in addition to some of that business and finance math. Okay, so what you have to realize is this exam actually is about contract administration. So all of those administrative things that you learn from the contractor's manual and the AIA documents are also going to apply to the contract administration. So what you're doing is you're building on to what you've already learned. All right, so we got all this business and finance information down. We passed the exam. Now we're going to go on to the next step where we're going to use that information. Now, there will be some additional stuff. Okay, there's going to be some contractor math. This is the type of thing where you're doing, figuring out how many yards of concrete, how much rebar you need, how many yards of fill you're going to need for that's going to come out of an excavation, what elevations, board feet of lumber, all these different calculations that I explain in my course that I call the general contractor course. Now, if you're doing general building or residential, everybody takes the same course and it's the general contractors course. So we can talk about that another time too. But all schools that I know of all teach it. They teach just the general contractor because it's all the same information. Okay, so you're going to have contractor math. You're going to have some plans reading. All right, in my course, my general contractor course, I show you how to read the plans and what the calculations are for the plans and so forth. And my set of plans is going to look a whole lot like the plans that you're going to see when you actually take your state exam. Okay. Now, in addition to that, they are going to start asking questions about the Florida Building Code of building and these particular chapters, chapters 1 through 6, 31, 32, and 33. That's what I want you to focus on. Now, you can go ahead and watch the video and do the practice exams for the entire Florida Building Code building, but these are where your questions are going to come from. They're going to come from chapters 1 through 6, especially chapter 1. Remember, this is contract administration. Chapter 1 is about administration. This is all about your permits and your inspections and administrative type stuff. And then the rest of these first few chapters are very, very similar in that way. Chapter 2 is definitions. Chapter 3 is use and occupancy classifications. So these are all good things for you to know to take this contract administration exam. Also at the end of the book, chapters 31, that's special construction. There's some permit stuff in there that is administrative. Chapter 32, which is encroachments onto the right of way. Well, if you're going to be stacking up materials and all that kind of stuff while you're administering a contract, you can't get close to an intersection and stuff like that. So that's going to be that kind of information. Then chapter 3 is safeguards during construction. That's like if you're going to be building, pedestrian walkways and that kind of thing while you're doing construction. So these are the chapters that they're going to focus on the Florida Building Code building. Now, we're still talking about contract administration here now. Okay, now your Florida Building Code energy conservation, okay, that would be the green book, the green binder, okay, and the energy efficient building construction in Florida. What we found is that there tends to be a few energy efficiency questions on this exam. Energy conservation, energy efficiency is a real big deal in construction over the past couple of decades, and it seems as though they like to throw some energy efficient questions in this exam. Now, all of your manuals are fair game for this particular exam, but this is where the majority, probably 95% of your questions are going to come from. You might get an odd question about OSHA or an odd question here about from one of the other manuals. So it's not a bad idea to have gone through the entire general contractor course, but this is where you really need to focus. Okay, so if you've got limited time and you can't go through all the manuals for this exam, just go through Florida Building Code. So do the math in the course, do the plans section, do these chapters here in the Florida Building Code Florida Building Code energy conservation, and energy efficient building construction in Florida. Okay, and once again, that general contractor course is going to prepare you not only for the contract administration, but also for the project management. And now this is where you're going to be responsible for all the rest of the materials. Okay, so you've got your other code books, Florida Building Code Residential, Florida Building Code Existing, accessibility, You've got your principles and practices of commercial construction. You've got your BCSI, which is your trust book, and and then even the books you can't bring in. Now, that's another story that we can talk about. Some of these manuals you can't bring in, but the information out of those manuals, there might be a few questions from those manuals, and I kind of talk about that in the course. You'll get more detailed information about that. But the project management is going to be the third one that you're going to take. And once again, you're building on to what you've already learned in the business and finance and the contract administration. And then we're throwing some more books in there. And it tends to be a better sequence if you can take these exams in that order. It is not a requirement that you take those exams in that order. I have had students be successful taking them, in another order. But if you are, if you're able to do that, if you haven't scheduled your exams yet and you're able to schedule them in this order, this is the way I recommend it. Okay. Very good. This has been Jack Sheffield, Jack the Exam Guy. Once again, don't ever let anybody tell you you don't know Jack, because now you do.